before. That was the
4,
problem.
3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
Looks like we're headed there.
Yeah.
We're all learning with you, Tim. We're all learning with you.
I feel
So
like
do I say, welcome to my feed?
you can say anything you want now, but I'm going to start recording.
We're all learning with you, Tim. We're all learning with you.
Okay. All right. So
do I say, welcome to my feed?
You can say it.
All right. We're good.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I would like to call the Community Development and Natural Resources Committee to order this morning. Michael, we'll start with the Chamber of Commerce.
Good morning, everyone. A hearty hello from the chamber and literally from the chamber today. So we have apology. I was able to get Stacy my notes to you and to my board member Carl Blowers. I hit 3 pages today instead of just 2, so I apologize for a little bit of a lengthy printed report. Tim, I don't need you to allow me to share a screen. I can if you want me to. That's up to you.
I can share the document.
Okay, and I do know that it was sent out to everyone, so I hope everyone has that. I see Mr. Gray and Mr. Van Harp. If you gentlemen can give me a shake of the heads that you did get it, that'd be great. Oh, perfect.
Yeah,
Thank you, Tim.
Get it.
I have it in front of me, Michael.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. I'm a little surprised. I won't go in great length. I'll try to keep it to 5 or 10 minutes. I'm actually pleasantly surprised with the fulfillment number. So if you look at the 7927 for October 2020, I think that has a lot to do with the AAA presentations we did in October. And I think we have been just following up with all of these mailings of travel guides. That's it should not be a suspicious number. I'm not surprised because we had a lot of requests for travel guides since then. Our top 5 states, again, you'll see September 20th to October, month to month, and then month to year at the end. Still kind of the same, no big surprises there. But we're getting people coming in, obviously, clearly from other states. And then obviously no international visitors. And so those numbers are none for now. Any questions about the numbers? I know, Mark, you're looking for a social media and I'm waiting for an email. I think I'm gonna have to send it to you separately. I'm currently working with 2 PR firms right now, one for the chamber and one for tourism. And those get combined in December. So I'll have a better report so next year I will have my own form of reports, not something I've inherited or how we do that. On this page for the partner meetings, this is just to give you some indication of what's happening on a regular basis. Particularly our 3 anchor partners, the Finger Lakes Regional Tourism Council, the Finger Lakes Wine Country, and Finger Lakes Tourism Alliance, Seneca Wine Trail, and Watkins Glen State Park. These are all the things that are happening with the main. It just happened to fall on the first sheet, but they are kind of not in a sense that everyone's a priority in a sense, but probably the strongest relationships and the most activity with these organizations. We represent Schuyler County with them. Very productive relationships, things are moving on. Everyone's planning, I would say encouraging to everyone in these days of being somewhat discouraged in some things. Relationships, business transactions, meetings, things are moving full speed ahead in the tourism world, right? We're just moving forward. So we can go to the second page. And then I just talk about some of the other meetings, a couple that I'll point out, and I won't go through the list entirely, but again, the cooperative extension relationship. Watkins Glen promotion, we had a really good meeting with Mary Ann, the board chair, one of the board reps, and then of course, outgoing executive director, Carol Pierce. Carol's new replacement for executive director, I believe Michaela, started this week. I've not met her yet, but we're working in tandem on a new program. And I'm just mentioning this to you because we're hoping that it will put heads in beds or at least feet on street. We are announcing this week a Holiday Light Festival. The Holiday Light Festival has no actual event. It's all about businesses, homes, non-for-profits, and farms decorating. There'll be cash prizes. We're partnering with Watkins Glen Promotion and with Visions. And we will use some money that we would have used for our gala, which is another announcement further on, to try to push people here between December 15th and January 15th. And it's all, well, it can be walking, but predominantly it'll be driving. And we believe if we can get people from Rochester, Buffalo, and Syracuse, and the northern Finger Lakes, as well as southern Pennsylvania, to come in, there'll be so many lights to see, they'll have to stay overnight or at least have lunch or dinner or both. So we'll give you more details on that, all the press release and things. We just got that finalized actually yesterday. But it's a fairly easy campaign to kind of turn on. It's really behind the scenes and the voting. There'll be some public voting and some judge voting. And I just think it'll be a nice energy morale boost for locals and a reason for visitors to come and see us. So that's the relationship moving full speed on Watkins Glen promotion. Of course, Scoped and some of our other members are on there that we're meeting with regularly. The next one I would really like to point out is the city, Mayor of Watkins Glen and the trustees. And Tim, I don't know, I don't think we actually spoke in length in the month, in that period of time. I did talk about the COVID response with Tom Reed and you, but I know we've talked about this program as well. So the PR marketing and sales for Clute Park Pavilion, its new event space, and the community center are things that I've talked to the mayor and trustees about. Tim and I have also talked, and we actually had a really productive meeting yesterday with both Tim and Luke, and then Judy and Kristen were also very nice and kind and contributed quite a bit to the meeting as we explore trying to sell our community in its entirety using all the assets, both the villages and the counties and some private. Now that the Glen Theater is reopening, now that the Arc of Chemung and Schuyler are using their facilities, we found that there's a really nice inventory of places that we could sell in combination or solely or in their entirety to groups. And we're going to try to make more and more efforts to get that done in a cohesive method. I'm asking the legislators to let me work with you on figuring out how we can certainly make your relationship with the developer of the middle school and that wonderful asset that the county has in that auditorium slash stage slash gym that can be used for exhibit space. It's actually being used today. I'll put a plug in for CCE. You've got your open farm market happening 2 to 7 today. We've been a good cheerleader on that. If we had a little more staff, I think Liz is going to pop over there. But I promote you to go over there because you'll see it in action in a different way. Certainly, the community needs, I believe, Tim, I'm not quoting you directly, but the cultural opportunities that will be afforded to the residents of the county and visitors that may stay are certainly ripe for the picking at that facility. And I'm excited about working in 2021 with all of the partners on here and others in the community to get event and meeting and entertainment bookers down here. So I believe that we'll get a little more formal on that with some more paperwork and more discussions. So Tim, I wasn't sure if you wanted to add anything to that, but I know that we were eager to mention it to the group.
Yeah, just from the legislative standpoint, I think what Michael's looking for is a general sense of whether there's support by the legislature. I believe there is to partner with the chamber to help promote and market the facility. We recognize the infrastructure needs that we need to address first, but we're exploring opportunities to promote and extend the use of that facility. So I made the assumption that the legislature would be on board, but this is the place to affirm that, I guess.
I'm certainly standing behind it. Yeah, I'm on. Ron DeNaro standing behind that concept. I think it makes a great deal of sense. I don't know, Tim, what is the, where would be the appropriate forum to get the actual sense of the entire legislature? Because I think the people who would probably have the most concern with that are not sitting on this committee.
Sure. I think at this point, it's probably not necessary to have any more discussion than we're having right now as we start to formalize or crystallize the relationship. We can talk about it, but I think there's the majority of the legislatures on this call if they're okay with the concept, and really all we're talking about is collaboration. Developing partnerships, hopefully with the village as well, and utilize economies of scale in terms of getting our biggest bang for the buck. So, but we still have a long ways to go in getting the facility up and running anyway. So,
Yep.
so this is more of a, to keep you informed if there were concerns or any issues, they can be addressed now, but that certainly doesn't preclude future discussions of it as well. So,
Right. And I would fully support continuing and fleshing this out, how we think that this would operate. So any feedback from the other members of the committee or other legislators on the call?
Sure, Michael Osella, I'm definitely supportive also. So I think particularly now, the larger space, we're seeing, like with the event today, that it's useful for different events that we could have there.
sure.
I did have a question about.
I agree with it also, Mark.
Great.
Howell, I'm supportive at this point. Of course, we've kicked around concerns, parking and other concerns in the village that we need to work out, but I'm supportive at this level to move it ahead.
Gray's still on the fence.
I think if there's reservations, I certainly understand it. I think we know that there's some cost and expense to the facility. I think we can do that responsibly. I believe that we could generate revenue to help with that. I'd like to set the bar low and or undersell it and over deliver it. It's a philosophy that's worked pretty well for me in my career. But I do see potential, and we've brought people in, and we look forward to bringing more people in. The example that I've given is, the Harbor Hotel, which is kind of our biggest gathering place in the county, goes after 4 groups for a weekend. Well, they only book those groups. What happens to the other 3 groups? Can we keep 1, 2, or 3 of them? And we need facilities like the auditorium, the village's assets, and yes, private organizations as well, and perhaps some other things that will come up in the future, both private and public, that I think you should all be excited about. I think you should be optimistic about. It is my background. I feel like I'm comfortable leading us, even if it's in baby steps on this. So I look forward to working with you. I'm thrilled that Tim is encouraged by it and that many of you are on board. And I understand a few little reservations, and I'm happy to talk with anyone individually and where else I see this. The Harbor Hotel's on board. We just haven't been able to get together to sit down and say, okay, how do you hand over those 3 groups you have to now disappoint and say no to, now that they've fallen in love with Schuyler County and Watkins Glen, and now you tell them you can't put them up anywhere. Let's try to finesse that and get them into some of the motels and hotels and campgrounds and things like that. And then also go after other groups so that the best revenue is going into the best venues for the right groups. So it's a formula, and it's fun to work with. And all of you are ambassadors because you all belong to different things, different associations and personal and professionals. So in hopes we'll work on that together and help fill some of these spaces. The TAP, I believe I already reported on. Those figures are there. It's been nice working with a number of you.
Michael. Michael
Yes, Mark.
Lassell, did you have something else that you were
Well,
on this issue?
As long as we're on the topic, I see in Kristen's resolution that there's an additional 250,000 from the DRI for the Performing Arts Center. And I just, if we could get a little more information on, is that earmarked for something in particular? And is there additional funding that we may be getting from the DRI for the Performing Arts Center?
Yeah, so the 250 is what was awarded originally during the DRI process. That's not an additional. There's an additional 750,000 that's going to Clue Park.
But the 250,000 for the Performing Arts Center, is that dedicated to the
To the
heat?
Performing Arts Center, yes.
That's going towards the HVAC upgrade.
Okay. And what is do we have an estimate of what the total will be for that?
It's about 600,000.
600. Okay. Thank you. That's all, Mark.
Thank you, Michael. Michael Hardy, please continue. Sorry to interrupt.
Michael, actually, thank you for asking that, because then I'm aware as well, and I think that's great. And we're moving closer and closer, right, to getting the HVAC there. That'll help with a lot of acts year round. I mentioned that we are looking on the bottom here. We did a site visit with Dresden PR, which actually happens to be our PR firm for the Chamber's tourism initiatives. I'm mentioning this because we will remember a year from now that this is where it began. There is a good opportunity for us to create Hallmark Days in Montour Falls, Watkins Glen, Schuyler County. This PR firm has a very deep relationship with a number of people, both in leadership at Hallmark and also with actors and actresses in shows where Montour Falls is shown in the credits. So we're moving in baby steps. We're hoping that there'll be some kind of informal photos taken during Small Business Saturday, which is our biggest event, and it's happening this Saturday after Thanksgiving. We have 29 vendors. Stop on down. We will be safe and physically distant here at the Chamber with our 5 pop-ups, I believe. We are doing this on Wink Radio, and that's been advertised for the last couple of weeks. We've put some money there to add some energy to what's going on in Schuyler County, support our small businesses, which is the majority of our membership. And the Hallmark Days, I think, will be something we can build into or include or in addition to Village Christmas. So you heard it today, and hopefully we'll have a great report next year for that. As we go on to the other events, just things that have happened, things that have been canceled, things that Liz has been working on lower in the page. And then our real connect, obviously the biggest challenge for the Hallmark, for the Chamber is not having in-person events to keep everyone safe. But we've tried to do the 2 Talking Tuesdays and the 2 B2B calls. So if you're talking to business peers or businesses out in the community in person or on the phone or on a Zoom, please remind them that that happens and that there is a lot of networking, a lot of business transaction, and a lot of idea making, percolating, and planning. When you can't do, you plan. So those B2B calls and the Tuesdays are really working pretty well. Holiday happenings and winter traditions, again, kicked off by small business. That starts this Saturday. And then we're just trying to put events in, and this holiday light show, I think, will be pretty much the capstone. I'm waiting to hear from Seneca Lake Wine Trail to see if Bargain Bash is going to happen, the 2 weeks of clearing off their shelves with sales. Mark may know a little bit more about that, but I hear it is happening. I know that Brittany Gibson, the executive director of Seneca Lake Wine Trail, is inventorying and polling her members to see who's going to be on board for that. And we will push that as a way to get people down here as well to fill hotel rooms and walk the streets and shop, eat at our restaurants. Last page, a little more brevity where I can here is just some of the other things we're working on. FLX to Go is probably our biggest initiative for the restaurants. We will be starting a print newsletter that you will all get starting this December with our holiday card to our legislators and our members. Currently, it's being called the Engager, to engage people. I think a lot of us are tired of having to read things by the glow of a computer, having to be plugged in and recharged. So we're going to do what's old is new again. And there will be a monthly newsletter that will be a resource and a tool to help our members and our community. And then we're going to initiate a marketing committee, which maybe 1 or 2 of you might sit on. We don't have a marketing committee here at the Chamber for either tourism or for the Chamber. So we're going to start off with a combined one. That's a new initiative in the new year. On-the-go initiatives, I won't go through those, but they're all there with the social media, the tourism task force, which I'll do today. I'm sorry, next 2 weeks from now. And then at the very bottom, and thank you, Tim, are you the one flipping through these pages?
I am.
You're a great assistant and I appreciate it. I won't put you through so much work next time. I did a little color down here because I did need you to things to stand out. I'm disappointed, as I'm sure the community will be, to announce that we are not going to be doing the gala traditionally on January 23rd, as we had hoped, particularly after the water treatment plant, where it was announced that that idea and that concept and the collaborations happened during network during that gala. I really want, and the staff does, and I'm sure the members in the community, to do this event. And we may do something in 2021 that resembles a gala, but because it is our biggest fundraiser, and I want to remind the community of that for the Chamber, we are doing a winterlude auction, a winter silent auction for a week during that week. I hope you'll look for that. We'll give you a save the date like we would the gala. We will be using that for our fundraiser. We have changed the annual meeting from November 4th to December 9th. That will be virtual. That mailing is being worked on right now. All of our members need to hear about that at least 10 days out. So we've got that going out today. And we will send a mail to all of you if you'd like to attend that meeting. And lastly, I just want to say happy Thanksgiving to you and yours at home and work.
Thank you, Michael. Any
Thank you, sir.
additional
Thank you,
questions for
gentlemen.
Michael? Thank you, sir, and a happy Thanksgiving to you as well.
Thank you.
Okay, So is Judy on the call?
I am on the call.
Oh, there you are. Absolutely. Okay, you are up.
All right, so just a couple items real fast. One is on the under Project Seneca, the wastewater treatment plant, the current site, we are very close to, we've created a new website for the RFP. For just as a quick reminder, we put this out, about probably a year ago, and we had no takers, even though we paid for some national advertising. So we're going at it a little differently. We have a website that we have secured that will put this under, and then we're going to do a massive media campaign for it to see if we can get some interest. We're using a skinny down version and a much more friendly version than the RFP was originally written. So thank you, Kristen, for helping us skinny all that down. And so so that's going out. So again, it's we'll see what happens. We do know that we have a couple developers who have expressed direct interest in it this time that we didn't have before. So that's the piece for Project Seneca. Moving on to the DRI.
Before you go beyond that, there was talk a while ago that there was funding in the current project that could be reallocated for the demolition of the current facility. Is that going to happen or not?
I'm sorry, reallocation of funding from what source?
From the wastewater project itself to do the demo of the old plant.
Yeah, there was talk about that. I don't know. I can't imagine. Well, I don't know.
I would have bearing on the RFP, certainly, if it's a clean site versus having to do demo.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on to the DRI. As you know, the Little Joe's, we're having some issues with you probably don't know this, but we're having some issues with the contractor with the roof. He has one more week to finish it, and then we're going to bring in legal. Scope will handle that piece of it and bring in some legal representation to get that roof finished. It's pretty important. On the good side of this, though, is that Elmira Savings Bank has provided a recommitment letter to the owner, and the owner has signed it, has paid the money. So the good news is we're moving forward. We expect that we have to have our contractor selected and our draws identified within 120 days. So the good news is that's moving forward. We had a little small glitch in that the survey that was done had to sort of be looked at a second time. So the owner's attorney was requiring some additional information. So all of that should be buttoned up now, and we already have the approval from the state to go forward. So really, it's all sitting sort of in the hands of the attorney and the bank. So all that looks very positive. The engineer that's working on this project is Howard Cabasis, and he's managing through this. On Captain Bill's, that is now complete. The ribbon cutting is tentatively scheduled for next week, for Tuesday. Still trying to sort of button down or get, confirm the timing, but the Lieutenant Governor has expressed a strong interest in leading that ribbon cutting. So we're working through that. And as soon as I have those details, I will make sure I get it out to the legislature so you have it. On Clute Park, again, thank you, Michael and the county for the TAP grant. It's a $50,000 TAP grant. Scoped will be a pass-through. It kind of puts Scope in an interesting position because we're sort of obligated, but it's just a pass-through straight for construction. So again, to assist with the construction of Clute Park. So that piece is going forward. And Michael, I will try and get some reporting for you so that you've got some what you need to make sure that everything looks appropriate. For the village, for the rest of their DRI projects, we got them actually drafted for them a RFP that they could use to go out and find a grant administrator and a project manager. And so that is out. I do know that there have been submittals. I've had a couple of folks actually call me and ask me about the ease and how much sophistication and how difficult it might be to do this project. And I have strongly recommended it could be a great way to build a book of business. And so we'll see what happens, but I do know that they did receive some responses to that. And then the last piece that you'll probably see for the DRI is the revitalization fund. So we will be going back out with advertising for that, a pretty strong push to make sure anyone and everyone that has an interest takes advantage of it this time. We did some reallocation through the state on some of the funds that were out there that had to stay within the HCR area. So that's sort of that. We've done that. We've opened up a little bit additional money for the revitalization fund. So that's, again, a facade improvement piece. So that you'll see that probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks. We'll go back out with that. We, at this point, have not put in for an extension to the state. We have to get farther along to see where all the projects are and to be able to give the state a very clear end date. And we're not far enough along with several of the projects to be able to do that. So that's sort of that's why we have not, and they won't even accept an application for extension at this point. So, we'll just stay tuned for that one. And then, so any questions on the DRI? We have one project, the VFW project that I think I've mentioned before. It was originally going to be a spa, and then the owner was considering doing 6 market rate apartments. And it looks like at this point, for sure, there would be 4 market rate apartments. And there's a possibility that instead of doing the housing on the first floor, we would do commercial. And again, working with Kristen and some others to make sure, and the state, quite frankly, to make sure that that is reiterated, that we'd like to see commercial on the first floor. I am talking to someone who used to be a merchandising manager for the Macy's department store in New York City that is interested in potentially being in a small storefront. So it comes down to what the price is going to be. So I think that's what's most important. So any questions on the DRI?
How much was made available now for second round of the facade improve? I can't think of what the revitalization fund.
Right. So we have another $100,000 in there. So we have about 135 at this point. At this point. Yep.
Very good.
Yep. So we still have, just as an FYI, we still have in that fund, we still have 250 that we are holding for the FLX Works project. So if that project, quite frankly, right now, if that project doesn't go forward and we don't put it in that fund, we will lose that money. So we do need to, I have to make sure that we get with the CDC and really determine, are they going to use it or not? And if not, we need to reprogram, but it has to be reprogrammed. It cannot be reprogrammed to a different project outside of HCR. It has to stay within the HCR, which is housing and community renewal. And that's the 15 North Franklin. That's the transform multiple building sites. So that's the Great Escape, Seneca Sunrise, and 101 11th Street, or the fund. So those are the places where it can be moved around to. On a couple other topics, I think that are probably of interest, the Festival of Lights. We did execute the contract with a Market New York. We're probably one of the few organizations that was actually able to get Market New York to agree to let us sign it, so that, because we know we're going to go forward. So that has been done. And the update for the Festival of Lights is that, again, it's not different than what I've said in the past. In that, are you looking for the watching Tim do this?
No, I don't have that. I thought it was out farther down, but
That's all right. I'll read it from the agenda. So so the Festival of Lights, where we are right now, we're simply waiting at this point for we're waiting for the borders to open. There is some concern. I'll just tell you this. The Chinese government, which is where the workers come from, the Chinese government are under the impression that that America is burning down from COVID. So they're not really sure they want their workers to come over. So we've got a little bit of work to do there, but I don't think it'll be an issue. Our plan right now is for the show to start probably in June, if everything goes right. The expectation is that, you know, late January, early February, the border will start to have some relaxation. And so we can get the workers in here, but everything's ready to go. We're ready to go. We just need to get the workers here. So, so that's sort of where we are on Festival of Lights. And then on the business park, we've been working and actually completed a presentation for the publicly held company that is making the investment into Chroma Global Technologies. And so that has gone to them. It went to them on Monday of this, actually went to them on Friday of last week. And so we did not have our weekly call with Chroma yesterday. So I expect that we'll have that. Probably, if we don't have it by Friday, we'll probably have it on Monday and we'll get a better sense of where we are. But that one is, again, everything looks very positive, and the work that was done, I think, was pretty good. So that's where we are on the business park. And then just a couple other items, just in case you hear about it. So Freedom Village, you know, Michael put together a meeting with some regional individuals interested in sort of using potentially the Freedom Village as a facility for J1 workers, which are essentially non-US seasonal or part-time workers. And so, which is great. I have been working with Bob Montgomery on the Freedom Village opportunity. I have introduced him to Hank Kimball. And so there is a business that's very successful that does youth camps that has expressed an interest, but they can't get here because they're not US based. So they can't get here to see it. So, but just know that that there is an opportunity there. So that one's going forward. And then later today, we will be harvesting chickpeas from the, anyone who wants to help, you're welcome to come up to Carl Tabor's site and help us harvest chickpeas. So we're doing that this afternoon. And then our biochar company that we brought into Odessa, they have had a small change in leadership. So John Swartz is no longer with them at this point. He's left the industry. And they're very interested in getting engaged with beet, getting their product into a trial for beet infectious diseases. And it turns out that New York is the second largest state in the country for canning beet production. And it turns out it's in Western New York. And it turns out that between Seneca Foods and Love Beets, which I didn't know this, but Love Beets actually came in from the UK, and they make all kinds of different snack beet products. They located in Rochester, pardon me, because of where the beets are located. So it's very interesting. So we have done an introduction between the owners of biochar and the head of beet research at Cornell University. So we've now put them together. So we're sort of done with that piece. And then the very last thing before we get to the resolution is Kisner, who is the investment group that purchased US Salt several years ago. They are in the process of purchasing Morton Salt. So just, you'll hear about it. No need to be concerned. They are, I mean, at this point, we're in conversation with them, and we in fact help them find a site for staging additional semi-trucks here in Schuyler County. So on their own property, which they didn't realize they had. So it's kind of fun. So all of that actually looks positive at this point. So we'll just sort of keep our ear to the ground on this one. And then the last thing we have, of course, is a motion to authorize the renewing of the contract with the Schuyler County Partnership for our economic development services at a cost of $171,000. This is a decrease of $44,000 from 2020. And this contract be for the period of January 1st of 2021 through December 31st, 2021.
Okay, so so Judy introduced the motion. I would like, is there anyone who would like to move it?
I'll move it, Lassell.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I would just like to bring forward that this is in no way a measure of our evaluation of Scope's value to the county, which is in fact not measurable, but is a very, very great addition to the county. Without Judy and her team, we would be sunk, and they're doing fantastic work. It's just a measure of fiscal reality at the county level right now. And I would be, and I have expressed this before, very much in favor, depending on our financial situation as we get into 2021, to consider if there are any economic development funds available through the Economic Development Reserve to provide supplementation for Scoped. So that's my comments. Any other comments on the motion? Okay, so I will call the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's carried.
I wanted to go back to the biochar, but yes, absolutely. I totally agree that Scope is doing a great job. The biochar, Judy?
Yep.
So when you were talking about the beets and the infectious diseases, does that mean that the biochar is like a soil supplement that makes them more resistant?
Yes, so what they do is they make the biochar, and in the process, they're able to inoculate the biochar with whatever the material or protein or nutrient or insecticide, whatever it is that needs to go to the plant. They actually inoculate the biochar with that, and then it's a soil amendment that actually has the that in it, and it has been shown to be a greater conveyor, if you will. So instead of just putting down, a fertilizer in the row, when you have it inoculated in the biochar has, whatever reason, an interesting chemical composition that allows it to be taken up into the plant easier. So it is pretty interesting. I spoke with the person at Cornell. It turns out there's only one person at Cornell who specializes in beets, and she's from the UK. Excuse me, she's from Tasmania. She's from Tasmania. And so it turns out that she's exactly the right person for them. So I think what this does is it gives them, if they're able to do this trial, and they're able to find, which this researcher has access to Seneca Foods and to Love Beets and to their farmers.
Right.
It actually can really help Seneca Farms biochar as they sort of, it branch out into different areas. Yeah.
Great. Yep.
One final question, jumping back to the DRI. What is the timing of when the CDC actually has to put up or shut up in terms of FLX works?
We probably, realistically, it's probably March.
Ooh. So tight window.
It's pretty tight. I mean, I think we could probably push it to June, but then that would mean that they would have to be ready to go. Because I have to be able to tell the state exactly, you know, like within a month of when the project will be done, all of the receipts are going to be collected and all the paperwork is completed. So
Right.
it has to be pretty, yeah.
So they need a location ASAP in terms of getting this
Yeah.
moving forward.
And it has to be within the DRI area. So we can't move it to Burdett or, you know, Montour Falls. It has to be in the DRI area. So that makes it a little more, more or less challenging. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you,
Okay.
Judy.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else for Judy before we let her go? Okay. Thank you, Judy. Phil, are you on the call?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay. There you are.
Did you want to do Kristen first?
Okay. Yeah, I guess I jumped over you, Kristen. Sorry about that.
You woke
That's
me
okay.
up,
Phil
Mark.
can go ahead of
I
me
don't-
if he wants.
Yeah,
You woke
I
me
always
up.
thought that you were the last of our stuff.
It used to be cooperative extension went first before scope.
Okay, Kristen, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Not a ton to report. It's been a busy month. I've been doing a lot of work around COVID and some of the executive orders that have come out over the past couple of months. I continue to work on the pandemic response plan that's coming together. We got some additional guidance from NISAC. So where I thought we had a complete document, when NISAC brought out their guidance, we wanted to add some additional information in. And I'm just waiting for a couple of departments to get their information to me as I assisted the sheriff's office and the county administrator's office with creating the online community input survey for the police reform effort and public health with the creation of a dashboard that we're updating each morning. I think you got updated on that at the last committee meeting. We held sort of moving on to the town efforts. The town of Hector held their public input meeting on their zoning last Wednesday. We had about 50 people in attendance, and it was really, I thought it was very civilized. People were very respectful of one another. And overall, I thought it was well received. There wasn't a ton of pushback on it. So I do think that they've gotten a lot of comments as well, just sort of written, and the committee will be meeting in December to look at those comments, make any final sort of changes or updates, and then hopefully in the beginning of the year, be passing it off to the town board for consideration for adoption. So that effort has been a long time coming and a somewhat slow process at times, but we're excited to see that wrapping up here in early 2021. I continue to assist Scoped wherever they need help and participate on the business attraction, as well as manage the 2 LWRP grants and the county's DRI grant. You'll see a resolution to authorize a contract amendment with New York State Department of State for additional DRI funding. Because a few projects did not go forward, but mainly the project that was slated, the housing project for the old Crooked Rooster facility. Since that was not moving forward, that money had the opportunity to be reallocated, and Clue Park needed some additional funding to just make that happen. So this is moving $750,000 from a different DRI project that's not moving forward into the Clue Park project.
Okay, so we have the resolution in front of us. Would anyone like to move it?
I'll move it.
I'll second. Michael LaSalle.
Okay, motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? It's carried.
I have an additional resolution around Clue Park. So as you'll see these coming, hopefully not too often because we don't have a ton of extra money, but this is a change order for Schuyler, which is our electric contractor at Clue Park. And this is addressing the need to get electric over to the ice house. The current electric service that is in the park is not strong enough to run the ice rink portion of this. So initially we thought that it would be. The village has reevaluated that. So we do need to update that electric service. So that's for $16,800.
Okay.
I'll move it. LaSalle?
Do we have a second?
I will second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? We're guaranteed this is not going to be enough of an electricity consumer because supposedly there are, I thought, a village moratorium on any new large uses.
I don't believe that they've put a full moratorium. They've expressed concerns that their various grids are nearing capacity, but this was included in their estimations. They knew this was coming, and well, it's a large electric user. It's not that large, and because it's only for a few months of the year, they don't anticipate it will have a huge impact. It was just simply the electric service itself that was going to Clue Park was not large enough to run the ice house. It was more of an ampage issue or voltage issue than anything else. That they just needed to run new lines with greater availability on them. So they're running the lines from their transformer that sits just south of the park, at the end of the park there where the campers are. They're just running it across the road. So this was to create a new trench and run the conduit from that line down to this.
Okay, thank you, Kristen. Motion in the second. All in favor?
Where's electric going to for this 16.8?
So it's going from the corner of the parking lot on the east side, at the east end of the park, and will be running approximately to the middle of the park. It's running a 4-inch conduit plus all the electric lines and then refilling that trench.
But it's a change order, so it was a miss by
Correct.
some, correct?
Yes, so it was part of the issue that the village had not anticipated, that we would need an additional electric service to the park.
But to allay your concerns, I think if I'm hearing correctly, this is a village expense. We're just a pass through for that. We receive the money. The village is obligated for all expenses associated with this project.
Correct.
There's no county money in this at all.
Okay.
The budget there is contingency in the budget, and this is part of that contingency.
Well, because there's a contingency doesn't mean we have to use it.
It's not our money anyways. It's like I said, it's the village project. We're a conduit for the money.
So why are we dealing with this?
Because we were the applicant. We were the reason that they got the money to begin with.
Right.
Okay.
The state actually sort of requested, required us to actually apply for this because they wanted to deal with the county.
Right.
Yeah, so when I talk about managing the other LWRP, there are 2 grants. One is for a new pavilion and a new bathhouse. And at the time, the county applied for those grants under the LWRP program. So they're in our names, and through an IMA that we have with the village, we pass that money through to them. The village had sort of had some struggle with some administrative parts and weren't able to really manage grants. And there was a time that there was concern that we were going to stop receiving grants. And this project was really important to Project Seneca, which is how it came through the county. And then as a result, we had received another grant from New York State Parks. And they had also indicated that they preferred to work with the county over the village. And then when the DRI project came about, the Clue Park project, it made sense to the Department of State to put that under the county because the rest of the money for the Clue Park improvements was already under the county. So it just allows us to sort of keep all the money in one spot and manage it cohesively rather than various groups trying to manage this at the same time. So it truly is just pass through money. And then I just manage the grant administration.
Okay, so we had motion in the second. I was calling the question, but I'm going to call it again just so that it can get heard. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? It's carried.
Just to give a quick update on Clue Park so everyone knows, if you haven't driven by there, there's a lot of progress happening and we're very excited. They're officially out of the ground, or out of the water, they say, quite figuratively and literally. They've gotten out of the ground, which really was a huge concern as part of the pre-construction, was what would we find when we started digging? If you remember, the wastewater treatment plant ran into issues. The project on McGee Street that was part of that wastewater treatment plant improvements that ran into significant unexpected issues when they went into the, started digging. I think our engineers did an excellent job in preparing everyone for what to expect when they started digging there. So we were actually able to get out of the ground for no additional change orders or unexpected things coming. They actually didn't even need to use their pumps because we had such a nice dry summer and fall. Unfortunately, it did start raining as soon as they tried to start doing pouring concrete. So that posed a slight challenge, but Welver rose to that challenge and did a great job. So the bathhouse and the ice house are currently on schedule and looking great. The pavilion is on schedule, but they're concerned it could be a little tight. The steel market is a little bit delayed in getting that steel. So they don't expect it to be delayed, but they sort of are keeping us optimistic, I guess. But otherwise, everything is looking good at the park.
Kristen, just one quick question on Clue Park. Your time, of course, has been invaluable, your contribution. Is it a contribution, or do you keep track of the time that you've put towards the project? Or are we receiving any compensation, or is this an in-kind on the part of the county or part of a shared services agreement?
Yeah, so there's not any administrative money within the grant. I think this is part of a shared service that the county and Project Seneca believe in this project. I'll let Tim speak more to that, but.
Yeah, we're not receiving any compensation for it, but I'm glad you brought that up, Jim, because I did want to acknowledge that while we don't have any financial commitment, Kristen's time has been significant. And it is the county's contribution to this. Besides leveraging the funding, I think because of Kristen's leadership and efforts, we're actually going to achieve it as well. So it should not be lost on the legislature, the significant amount of work that's coming forth through that office.
Thank you.
Okay.
So outside of that, the village zoning update is continuing. They're going through the audit process with the consultants right now. So we expect that to continue on track. Outside of that, I don't think I have anything else. If you guys have any questions for me.
Kristen, have we had any response from DEC or any communication with Mr. Mente regarding the facility and the county line, Route 13?
We have not. I have not heard anything from Mr. Mente since our last meeting or our last legislative meeting with them. The last communication I had with the DEC was on November 3rd, and he indicated that they're currently reviewing all of the comments and responses received and are still processing the application.
So we don't know if he was following the language in our resolution. DEC did not require that he resubmit a complete application. Start from, well, I shouldn't say start from scratch because a tremendous amount of information has already gone into the project.
That was not indicated, but they are reviewing it. So I think that may be an outcome and they may resubmit on their own. I'm not sure. I have not heard.
Okay, thank you.
Kristen, this is Michael. I had a question because in my talking with Barbara Ekstrom, the solid waste director in Tompkins County, I mean, it seems like certainly they have plenty of capacity even for the recyclables there. And she said that they had worked with Cortland County to try to do a shared agreement, but it didn't pan out. But she did mention that she would be interested in something like that with us if it was to our advantage. It did seem like their yearly report of all their recyclables and that is quite detailed, and they seem to have existing contracts like for the electronics and that. So I wanted to mention it to you instead of, me kind of pursuing this directly with her, but it seemed like it might be a possibility.
Okay. I can reach out to her.
Yeah, that'd be great just to see what more she had in mind. With that.
Right. When you reached out to the towns, Kristen, there was some interest in trying to do something together?
I wouldn't say that. So they weren't against it. The town of Hector was looking to expand and may purchase a baler for the plastics. And if they do that, they might be willing to work with some of the other municipalities to share those expenses. However, in those discussions, the trucking from the town of Montour, the town of Tyrone, Reading, all the way to Hector may make that just not a feasible option. The towns of Montour, Catherine, and I believe Cayuta are going to pursue another joint contract the way they have been operating, and we're happy with that. The sort of indication to me by the towns was they were happy operating how they're operating and working together themselves, and we're not looking for the county to come in and create a contract for them. They were feeling that they had it under control. The town of Montour and Catherine had already had a discussion. The town of Cayuta supervisor was at that meeting and expressed interest in participating with them and was going to take that up with them separately.
Okay, so it sounds like there may not be, even if you bring forward a proposal for something joint with Tompkins, there may be no appetite in the towns, and they're the ones that actually are in charge
I would
of the
not
waste management.
anticipate that anyone who is on the west side of our county would be interested in joining a recycling program with Tompkins, paying toward, because it's quite a distance for their residents to go to get rid of recycling. I do believe Hector, Catherine, and possibly Cayuta might be interested. I can't speak for them, but because it's a little bit closer to them, just in talking to residents when the recycling had stopped in those towns, suggesting that they take their recycling to beaver dams for where Arrowhead or Sword are, was sort of, I'm not going to drive anything that far. Right. So I guess I wouldn't be shocked if they felt the same way about Tompkins County. Now, if Tompkins County might be willing to let us participate in their hazardous waste program or their electronics program, I could see that being a real benefit to the county, because we do have a lot of questions around how to get rid of chemicals or their TVs or whatever it may be in the off years of our hazardous waste day. And because we only do it once a year, they missed it and now they have to hold on to it for 2 years. And yes, they can take it to Yates, in the upcoming year. But I could see that being a real benefit to the county, because Tompkins does hold hazardous waste collections much more regularly than we do. But for the general everyday recycling, I don't know that there would be a huge benefit to all of Schuyler County residents. I could see the town of Hector, like I said, Hector and Catherine, maybe even Cayuta, feeling that benefit, but I don't know that all the other towns would buy into supporting that. And it would have to be, I think, the legislature supporting that and funding it sort of without the towns and making it a service to the county, all county residents.
Right. What you mentioned, Kristen, as far as the electronics and the hazardous waste was what I was thinking, that maybe even if it could end up being every 3 months instead of just once a year, something like that. But also that just to see if there might be some benefit in pooling, even with I wasn't thinking particularly of just the regular single stream recycling, but maybe there's some benefit to pooling a contract, even if it was just a couple of the eastern towns, but that would, so just to see what she's got in mind. For some
Yeah,
reason,
I'm happy to reach out to her.
yeah, it'd be great, because it seemed like if it was something worth looking into with Cortland, then maybe there's something there. So, but I just wanted to pass that on to you. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Kristen. Okay, so now we get to Mr. Cherry, Cornell Cooperative Extension.
Good morning. You have my report. I see it there in front of me. As my time draws to a close here at Cooperative Extension, I am pleased to report that the selection committee has been meeting and working. I'm told that they've narrowed the list of applicants. They had 13 originally. They narrowed it down to 6 or 7, I think, for first round interviews. And now they've narrowed it down to, I believe, 3 for a second round of interviews that'll take place, I'm thinking in mid-December, with the goal of still trying to get somebody on board by the first of the year. I am not integrally involved in that process, but I know Tim is, and of course there's many others on the search committee as well. I think Michael is, and
Yes.
others. So if I've misstated anything, please correct me, but I am encouraged that the process is moving forward. It seems to be timely. It seems to be generating some successful or potentially successful applicants. So that's really encouraging to me. I forgot to put in here, but and I don't know why I forgot, because it was so front and center in my head, was we participated in the FLX Gives program last Friday the 13th of all days, but it worked out really well for us. We had some pretty good luck. We had almost 30 folks that contributed just over $2,000 to our nonprofit. And that was really encouraging. We had not done that before with the FLX Gifts. Of course, it was only their second year. We missed the first year, but we did it this year. And we'll clearly do it again next year. It was a lot of fun. And we scored, I think, really well compared to all of the nonprofits. I noted that FLX Gives as an event generated almost 3 times the revenue this year that they did last year, which was their first year. So I think it's off to a great start and a great offering from the Community Foundation. So we were happy to participate in that. We are, and Michael mentioned this as well, we're having our Thanksgiving pop-up farmers market today from 2 to 7 at the Performing Arts Center. So thanks to Tim and Peggy and the staff there at helping us get that off the ground. We are going to be COVID safe, and I'll be there with my thermometer taking everybody's temperature. So please forgive me for that personal intrusion. But we'll have masks and sanitizer and control the number of folks that are in there at any one time. And it's hard to predict how many folks will get there. And of course, COVID is on everyone's mind. But we've had a pretty good interest from Facebook and elsewhere. And I'm hoping that I hope the community comes out to support our farmers. If this works well, and I know it would if we weren't for COVID, but we'll be thinking about doing this again a couple of days before Christmas, and then we're already planning for next year for Easter and sort of the traditional holidays that we can get our stuff from the farms out to the general population. We have another crop of master gardeners that are starting to get trained, another 7. That would bring, in Schuyler, that would bring our total, I think, to 17, which is really pretty remarkable for a small county. But Roger's doing a great job there. That training course will start here in the not too distant future. And Roger reported 62 contacts this month of folks that were looking for assistance and information from Cooperative Extension. I like to track that number. It really speaks volumes, I think, to the amount of interest that the residents have in what we can help them with in gardening or forestry or youth development, what have you. Speaking of youth, our 4-H program has continued. Now indoors, our Reach After School program is indoors, excuse me, virtual. And 4-H now we've gone to virtual as well. Sorry, I misspoke there. When the schools went virtual, we went virtual with our 4-H program, and that seemed to be the right thing to do. Planning for camp has already begun. For next year, we've got our fingers crossed. We've adjusted our budget a little bit to what I think is going to be the impact of COVID on participation next year by reducing our residential camp, increasing our day camp. That advice came from our regional camp specialist at Cornell, who is working with all of the 4-H camps statewide and trying to guess, for lack of a better word, at exactly what we're going to be seeing next year with camp. But with the prospect of a vaccine, and I think folks being a little bit more comfortable than they certainly were last June, I think camp is going to do really well. Our nutrition program is operating virtually as well. There's a lot going on there. Our energy programs are really off to a good rebirth, if you will, with Erica Herman now doing our Heat Smart program and Todd Novy doing our Clean Energy Communities program. Todd's been doing a lot and getting a really good reaction. I know Odessa is working with him on getting designated, as is Hector. I also heard just the other day that finally NYSERDA is going to be releasing the details of their new program. On all days, I think they said they were letting it go on Black Friday, which makes no sense, but you know, whenever they let it go, it will be well received, I think, because there's a lot more money now there for municipalities, and they've changed the program a little bit. There's still high impact action items for municipalities to adopt, but there are other ways now of making money. I should probably get Todd in front of this group maybe in January sometime to see if the county wants to reinvigorate your efforts. And you've already done much with the charging stations and with benchmarking and stuff. I'm sure you could get designated without too much trouble. And the Heat Smart program is also really doing well. Erica is awesome. She is making all the right contacts. Our RFP for contractors will be out hopefully by December the 15th. Our website is all but ready to go. We've got our logo pretty much finished. A lot of this has to be approved by NYSERDA before we let it go, particularly the website and the RFP, but they promise that they're going to be relatively quick at turning things around. We'll see about that. But I'm very encouraged with that. I do have a resolution that I have shared with Mark and Stacy. I neglected to get it in with my report in time, but it is up for your consideration in support of the Heat Smart program. I don't know if you all have it handy. I know that Stacy had sent it out to all of you perhaps last Thursday, maybe Friday. And so the resolution is simply an expression of the legislature supporting our work with Heat Smart and helping educate residents on the benefits of heat pump technologies. Pretty harmless, but we are looking for supports from all of our jurisdictions in this program. And So I would ask for consideration of that agenda, or that resolution.
So has everybody seen that resolution, or do you, I've got it in front so I can read it. If, Tim, can you put, do you have that you can put it up? So
Yeah,
the
I'm
people
looking
can
I'm
reference?
looking for it, Mark. I don't see it.
Okay, well,
I might be able to share
I
my
can-
screen,
okay, that might be a good,
but you'd have to allow me to
yeah,
do
you'd
that.
have to allow him
I'm
to.
not, let me see if.
I haven't seen it, but it certainly sounds pretty straightforward and something that I would support and expect other members of the committee would support, Phil.
Well, while we're waiting for this, I can read through it quickly.
That would be helpful.
So it says, whereas Cornell Cooperative Extension has served the residents of New York State with unbiased research-based knowledge from Cornell, New York's land-grant university, to the needs of New Yorkers and their communities for over 100 years. And whereas CCE of Schuyler has obtained a grant from New York State Energy Research and Development Authority to develop the Heat Smart FLX program, which will conduct 4 community-based outreach, education, and bulk procurement campaigns for education and promotion of heat pump clean heating and cooling technologies in Steuben, Schuyler, Yates, and Seneca counties. The campaign's goal being to increase education and consumer awareness of these CH&C technologies, reduce the costs associated with the purchase and installation of these CH&C projects, increase local adoption of these CH&C technologies, and identify campaign characteristics and approaches that are important for success and can potentially be replicated in other campaigns. And whereas the goals of this campaign can lead to both a cleaner environment and investment in jobs in Schuyler County and other areas of the southern tier of the state of New York, now therefore be it resolved that the Schuyler County Legislature hereby expresses its support for the goals and efforts of CCE, it says of Schuyler, okay, to develop, implement, and promote the Heat Smart FLX program. So that's the.
Thank you, Mark, for doing that. And I just wanted to thank Steve Getman too for helping me with the wordsmithing on that resolution, and Stacy for getting it before you.
So that's the resolution. Anybody want to move it?
I'll move it, Howell.
Second, LaSalle.
Motion and a second. Any further any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion's carried. Thank you, Phil.
Thank you, Mark. Lastly, I would just point out that we're having our annual meeting a week from today, December the 1st. That would be Tuesday, beginning at 5 o'clock. I will be sure to make sure all of you are invited. We'll do our usual annual meeting stuff, but we also have a speaker coming over from Cornell who's an expert in mindfulness and well-being. And I think with all that we've been through these last 6-8 months, learning a little bit more about taking care of our own minds and our own well-being might be really interesting to folks. And so I invite you to participate in that. I promise it won't go past 6:15 or so. I hope. And come out to our farmers market today, 2 to 7. Buy some Brussels sprouts. Thank you, Mark. That's all I have.
Thanks, Phil.
I got one more question. Actually, it's more of a request. When you were hired, Phil, there was a public sort of meet the final candidates that was people could actually get an idea so that they could give feedback before the and I'm wondering, would it be possible for something like that, maybe even just a 10 or 15 minute presentation with each of the final 3 to be done with a YouTube thing in front of your search committee, but maybe with the same sort of YouTube broadcast that we're doing right here today?
Right. I was talking to Sarah Agan, our acting president, as Alex Bond is out on maternity. I was talking to Alex, or excuse me, Sarah, just yesterday about this, and the expectation out of Cornell is that they will follow sort of the same process in this ED search as they have in past, and that does include, Mark, this quote unquote presentation that you're referring to. And from what I gathered from Sarah yesterday, that is their intention, that they want to do have the finalists do a presentation with some sort of a prompt. I don't know what that would be, but and
That's
then getting it
correct.
up on YouTube for everybody to watch might be interesting. Tim, you had a thought on that?
No, that is correct. That's my understanding as well.
Right,
Michael's been involved also.
right. I just got to figure out how I can spy in on that and take a look at it myself. But Michael, you're muted.
Yeah, I thought we were still hoping at the last meeting that there could be an in-person component, even if
Right.
not everybody.
Right.
So that, certainly the core committee would meet the person.
Yes, and Sarah did say that to me yesterday as well. With a recognition, it may be a little difficult for somebody that's out of state. I understand there's one out of state applicant, but they'll work through that.
Mhm.
But it is something that, at least if it can be simulcast, if you will, so that the public can.
Well, the public, the CCE employees, and the search committee.
Right. Okay, thank you. That takes care of it for me. Any other questions? Tim, did you have anything for transportation?
No, I don't.
Okay, anybody else got anything for the good of the order to bring forward?
Motion to adjourn. LaSalle.
Any second?
Second,
Great.
Raoul.
Okay, we stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone.